So, hello again. The second part of the CIA-triad, integrity. So basically, integrity means the assurance that our data or information has not been altered in an unauthorized way. So nobody who shouldn't be able to access or modify our data should not have access to it. And we use different integrity controls to ensure that our data can basically be modified or deleted. And one part of this is to block the ability of unauthorized people to make changes to our data. So basically only me can change my Facebook pictures and so on. And another part is to provide the means for restoring the data back to a known good state. So if somebody or if something happened to our data, if some pictures were lost or some documents were deleted or modified somehow, we should have a way, for example, as in backups, to get the data back to the state that we know was good. And then the question is that, so how do you do this? How do you block unauthorized people from accessing our data or information? And the basic way for this is, or basically there's two approaches that we can take to preserve the CIA of whether electronic or physical data. And the first one is to build something called defensive perimeter around our data or our information, and basically trust everyone who can get access inside. And the second one is to do something called layered defense in depth approach. So basically we have many levels of security controls in place. So the first one, we basically build some protection around our data and then trust everyone who has access inside that they will not do anything bad. So you can think of this as a castle that you build. You have lots and lots of money, so you build a castle with walls and moats and so on top of your data. And then you basically trust everyone who lives inside your castle that they will not steal anything and they are basically good people. And this is, or this kind of defense is called the lollipop model and also known as perimeter security. So it basically involves building a virtual or physical wall around the data that we want to protect, or maybe there might be some, in the case of a castle, there might be money or other strategic resources that we want to protect. So basically the idea is that this perimeter security is like a lollipop with a hard, crunchy shell on the outside and something soft and chewy on the inside. And it's on the inside, it's this soft and chewy bit that we want to protect. So consider the castle again, because it has walls, gates, moats, and so on to protect what's inside. But then please also consider that if you have something like this, does it mean that nobody can basically penetrate the castle walls and so on? And of course, the answer is no. So if the attacker is really determined, he can find a way in either by breaking through the walls or the gates or windows or something like that, or finding some weakness. Maybe there's a well, as it is in many movies, and they can get in using the well, or maybe they can convince somebody from the inside to let them in. And if you compare this to then computer security or network security, firewall is like the castle. So it's the walls that keep the attackers out. So the limitation of this is that once the attacker breaches our security, all the valuables inside are completely exposed. So you think again the lollipop, that once you bite the hard, crunchy exterior, you get access to the interior basically. So in this kind of defense model, there's no inside defense. Another limitation of this is that there isn't any different levels of security. So for example, consider your house. So you might have jewels and stereo equipment and cash and so on in your house, and they are all basically provided by the same level of protection. So basically the walls of your house, the door, key, and so on. But in many cases they require different levels of protection. So you might have expensive jewels that cost thousands, so you might want to have them really in some safe place. If you have only couple tens of money with you, you might not be so interested in protecting it like completely. And if you have some old clothes, for example, you don't really care if they would actually be gone. So again, firewall is likewise, it is limited in its abilities or capabilities, and you shouldn't expect that you only use firewall and then be safe with that, because if somebody gets through your firewall, if that is your only defense, then bad things can basically happen. And that's why this perimeter defense is not the best model of defense. So the better one is called this, where we have different types and levels of security controls, and it's called this layered defense in depth approach. And it's called the onion model because, when you peel an onion, there's another layer after another layer after another layer. So if the perimeter defense is called the lollipop model, this one is the onion model. So the basic principle here is that if somebody breaches the outer perimeter, we have another defense after that, and if somebody breaches that, we have another defense after that, and so on. So basically we do have the strong exterior of the lollipop, but we have also something else inside. So there might be some physical things. If it's in your home, you might have a wall around the home, you might have a locked door, you might have some monitoring system. Inside your office, you then might have your computer that has some encryption and other access control things, and so on. And the actual data is then inside your home, inside your computer, in a hard drive that is encrypted there. So there's different layers of protection. So there might be an invader who picks the front door of your house or goes through the window to gain entry to the house, but the owner of the house might have hid the cash in some place, or there might be a safe where they have all the jewels and so on. So basically these safes and so on, they address the situation when this perimeter security fails. And also think about a safe in that even if you trust your people living inside your castle and you have a safe, so there's no chance basically for this inside job when you have a safe in place inside the castle walls. And again, the same principles apply to network security. So basically there must be a plan that what happens when an attacker gets past the firewall, or what happens if there's a trusted insider, for example your employee or contractor, who will abuse their privileges, so they have access to your system, and what if they want to do something nasty. So usually the more layers you have or more layer of controls that you have, usually the better protection against a failure of any one of those layers. So if you have your money inside a safe, and even if you forgot to lock your door, money should still be quite safe within the safe. So again, think about a situation where there's only username and password authentication, and there's no other security controls. So there's only one layer of security. You need to know the username and you need to know the password. So basically then anyone who obtains the username and password, or in some other way hijacks an account that is already logged in, they will then gain full access to the system and they can do anything with the data. They can modify or delete whatever data they want. So basically, if such a system had another layers of security controls that needed to be passed, compromising the system would be more difficult. So you probably have all seen these movies where you have to either put your hand in some sensor or show your eyeball to the system, so that there's different levels of security that you need to pass before you gain access inside. And basically, the basic thing about the defense models here is that organizations and us as individuals, we should use many different forms and layers of protection to secure our data and information, and basically thus to protect the integrity